What's up, everybody? It's time for another episode of Mysticism and Abundance. It's kind of a mouthful. Have you ever noticed that? Not the shortest name. It doesn't roll off the tongue quite as easily as others, but I think there's a lot in there. I think it makes sense. It makes sense to me anyway. Listen, today's guest, super cool guy named Mitch Fox, a breath worker, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, somebody who has seen the heights of success and who is now regulating his nervous system and teaching people how to get into a higher state of consciousness and to access the higher self through something that's right here within you already through this breathwork method. He has some really cool experiences, some really cool stories of some teachers who he's interacted with. I'm so glad to have him on the show. I know that you're going to love hearing from him today. Before we get into the episode, a couple of quick announcements. One, Mysticism and Abundance is a podcast from Ground Media, and Ground Media is here to produce podcast material for content creators. Anybody who has any sort of a business, anything they're trying to promote, wants to get this content out there. The thing about podcasting is it's this incredible content waterfall is what we call it, where you do one long form video shoot and what comes from that is just this incredible amount of content. So for an hour, 90 minutes of work, you get an average of 15 to 20 reels and shorts that come from it that can be shared on every other social media platform. We can do it for you. We can produce that longer form video podcast for you, get it out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Substack, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. And we can do it for rates that are pretty surprisingly accessible. So again, Mysticism and Abundance is part of Ground Media Company. Check us out. You can email me to get more information at jacob@groundpodcasting.com. In other news, we're trying to keep this specific podcast ad-free and sponsor-free. The best way for you to do that with us and with me is to pay for a Substack subscription here. It's $8 a month, and along with that, you're going to get access to 2 monthly Sangha meetings. We're calling this community the Sangha, which is just an Eastern way of talking about a faith gathering, sort of like a group of people who all share a universal and mystical spirituality and all share a universal optimism for the future. $8 a month to subscribe here is going to keep sponsorships from ever having to be a thing. However, if you have a business, eco-friendly or sustainable, and do want to sponsor episodes on a podcast, Ground Media has its own separate podcast. And that one features entrepreneurs who work in those fields, features those businesses, the plight, the journey of that entrepreneur, and ways to connect people to create more sustainable packaging, to network those businesses together so that those entrepreneurs get the resources that they need. If you're interested in a sponsorship like that, again, email me, jacob@groundpodcasting.com. This specific podcast, if you'd like to keep it ad-free, get yourself a paid Substack subscription. That's the best way to experience this podcast, in my opinion, because you get the videos, you get the kind of companion materials that come along with it, and you get those written blog posts from me updated at least once a week, if not twice. So that's it for the announcements today. Without further ado, let's get into this awesome interview with Mitch Fox. Thank you for coming on the show today, man. I was really excited to meet you on TikTok and to just find out a little bit about what you do, and it's a joy to have you on, man.
Yeah, grateful to be here. Thank you. It felt so strange the way I saw it pop up on TikTok, but when my intuition kicks on and tells me to do something, I no longer question. I just follow the orders. And that's how I find really cool connections, especially on TikTok now, because there are so many cool people on there. And whenever I feel an energetic connection or whatever, I just reach out and I'm like, hey, I don't know why, but this feels like a thing. Should we talk? And then I jump on the phone, and usually that, it works. So I've made some really cool friends just doing that. And sometimes people don't respond, and I know that that's just not an aligned person, and that's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's loads of alignment going on here, man. I could tell, we did a bunch of pre-interviews, had a bunch of calls come through, and there were just a couple that really stood out, and you were definitely one of them. And you brought up in our conversation, this kind of turning point from, there was definitely a part of your life where you were into tech and digital marketing. I know you're doing breath work now. I'd love for people to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, but also like why you're in it and kind of that backstory of what brought you here, man.
Yeah. Well, in COVID, my high school buddy reached out to me and he said, "Hey, I got a bunch of funding and I want to build a software AI product. And I know that you do digital marketing, you do design, you do development, and I feel like you'd be a really good fit for the team." And I immediately had imposter syndrome. And I was like, I don't see myself as a founder of a company or a C-level executive. I'm like, that's not really me, but I was like, sure, let's do it. And I built this whole identity around being a co-founder of a tech startup. And, this guy, his family has money. So I was being flown to places. I was going to Switzerland. I was, all over the place doing really cool stuff, driving, sports cars that his dad let us borrow. And it just felt very unreal. And I felt like it wasn't, like I didn't deserve it. And in the back of my mind, I knew that it wasn't going to work. I knew from jump that his idea wasn't going to work and that we weren't going to make it because the group we had, all kind of alcoholics, very talented, smart individuals. But one guy is from Ireland and he was a vicious alcoholic, but brilliant, like super smart, back-end developer. And he was going to be responsible for sort of architecting the software. And my job was just to make it look pretty. I wasn't really the architect behind it. So I brought in another guy who was a CTO, COO guy who had machine learning background. And I was hoping that he would come save the day, that he would kind of bring order to this chaos because he didn't drink. And I thought maybe this guy could help. And he didn't help either. There was no helping this thing. So finally we ran out of funding and I knew it was coming. But when it finally came, it was a really scary feeling because I'm a divorced guy and I owe, $2,500 a month to my ex-wife every month. And if you don't pay that, you go to jail. That's what's in my mind of like, if I don't make money, I go to jail. That's kind of how I felt inside my body. And so this idea of losing my job meant that now I have to replace it with some sort of income. And that meant going back to corporate America, which to me was like a death sentence. I hated the idea of going to corporate America. And so did my wife. She had just she had a great job in a cybersecurity company, a high-level executive position, and she found out ahead of time that she was going to be losing her job because a management company bought them and they're going to be IPOing, et cetera. So she kind of got the inside tip that she was going to be let go, and her whole team too. And so she started launching her own digital marketing company simultaneously while working at this corporate America. And I was helping her do that. I was like, sure, I'll help you do that. Let's do it. And it became very successful very quick. And she was able to, get a big severance package and everything worked out great. Except I was doing work that I didn't like. She was excited. She was excited to be working with me. We used to work together. That's actually how we met. And she loved working with me. She thinks I'm like the best designer. She always likes my work. And it's so easy for us to work together because we're married. But I just felt this like unrest inside of me. And I knew that this was not the work for me. I didn't feel good doing it. I didn't like sitting in front of a computer writing code. What I like doing is connecting with people. I like stuff like this. This gets me going. I like helping people. I like teaching jujitsu to people. I like seeing people go, aha, I figured it out. Thank you for showing me that thing. Now I'm better because of it. That's what excites me. Yeah. But writing code and building websites, not so much. I like the artistic piece of it. There's components of it that I do like, but it's just not my calling. And so when I lost my job, to backtrack, she's like, babe, why don't you just figure out what you want to do? We got married in December. So every year we go away. I usually take some mushrooms and I write down a bunch of stuff that I want to do for that year. Yeah. I kind of reset and figure out, who am I? What do I want to do? And I wrote down, that I wanted to become a breathwork instructor. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew that breathwork was very important and that it was going to help heal me and heal my family and people around, everyone that I'm connected with, because I created a lot of damage in my family by divorcing. And my kids are 16, 13, and 12, or 14 now, just turned 14. And I'm hoping that breathwork can be a vehicle to help them in the future when they're ready. Yeah. And that's really why when I started this, the first time I did a deep breathwork session, the thought was, you need to learn this, teach this, and help others. That was like immediately what I was given as like a message. This is not just for you, it's for others. And so I spent 4 months not getting certified. And then finally in April, I went and I got certified. And then since then, I've been launching my business and trying to, get clients. And just 2 months ago, I started a TikTok, which just blew up. I'm almost at 20,000 followers, which is really exciting.
Damn, good job, man. Yeah.
So I'm stoked off of that. And now it's kind of figuring out, how do I help people? What does that look like? And so I know I'm talking a lot here, so you can cut me off.
No, that's why you're here, bro. Listen, and also, I mean, I want to point out too, you know, the TikTok piece, I'm realizing just how well positivity does. You know, it's a really refreshing counter narrative to so much of the negative, I don't know, you could almost call it propaganda that we're seeing to kind of, I think it's just working to keep people suppressed. And I just put out a video just trying to manifest and think about a brighter future for all of the scariest stuff that everybody's the most afraid of. And I just painted a brighter future of it. And it's the best video I've ever done. It's getting the most views it's ever had. And this whole podcast initiative to bring people on was about to find people like you who are trying to awaken people to, you know, just remembering themselves, remembering their bodies, remembering their power. And so that's exactly the kind of role you're filling. And that's why you're seeing so much success there. I'm so happy for you, man. You talked about a big shift coming in one specific person that you read that really made the difference when it comes to breath work. I think it was Aaron Doughty. You want to talk about a session I think that you had with him?
Yeah, it was an interesting way that I got there. So back in the beginning of, 2 years ago in April, my wife, she was on her second time reading a book called Reality Transurfing, which is by a Russian physicist guy. He's brilliant. And she read this book, and she's not like an avid reader at this time, but she read this book all the way through and then finished it and then started reading it again. And she kept on telling me, you need to read this. She kept on talking about the concepts in it. And I had to invest. So I said, fine, I'll do it. And we went to Manhattan, and I walked Manhattan for the next 2 days, and I listened to almost the entire book. And it's huge. It's like 700 pages. And in listening to this book, something kind of clicked. And I started feeling different. I was stuck for a while. I was feeling really stuck. This was, 4 months after losing my job and trying to figure out who I am and what I'm about, what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And in reading this book, I realized I wanted to learn more about it, and I contacted a transurfing coach. They have like official people on their website that can coach you on this book and how to manifest and all this stuff. And this character told me about Aaron Doughty, who was also involved in reality transurfing. He started doing YouTube videos and started blowing up, and the author of the book kind of tried to shush him. And in doing so, made him blow up even more, I think.
Oh, wow.
So Aaron Doughty he's like the guy talking about reality transurfing. He started off selling women's shoes and hated his job, and then was able to quit his 9-to-5 just by talking about reality transurfing. And then he kind of shifted and talked about a lot of other things. And now he's a speaker, he's a coach. He does a lot of cool stuff. So if you've never invested time into him, check out Aaron Doughty. I went into his school, and that's, an online community, and he has a couple of free things in there. And one of them was a breathwork session where it's like a ceremony, and he had thousands of people online on the live call. I wasn't participating in the live one. It was a pre-recorded session. And I did that session, and it changed everything. Like, I started crying. I released so much emotion. I hadn't cried in like years. I didn't know how to cry. Emotions just lived in my body. And that was the first time where I felt connected to my emotions again. And it was kind of scary because I'm so used to being numb. And that's why I drank for so long and smoked weed and did all the substance, was to keep all the emotions kind of stuck in there so that I didn't have to deal with them, because they'd come out, but it would be like rage or like extreme anger. And that's all I could really feel. I had the emotional capacity of like a teaspoon. I just didn't really have depth when it came to feeling a range of emotions. And like, I just couldn't identify what I felt. So that was the session that really kicked it off.
Yeah, dude. So I've talked to my wife about this so many times that it's been a major work in my life to become clear on emotions. It's been really tough. We joke, has like a typewriter that like, it just lays out this page that she just picks it up, and it's like, I am feeling grief over the fact that I was abandoned when all this stuff. I feel more like I'm listening to music through a window or something when I'm trying to get clear on what it is that I'm feeling. Probably is more my personality type. But I think that that's what leads to these kind of personal breakthroughs. Like, you have to gain some perspective on who you are and who it is that's experiencing these things. And then it enables you to see them without being them, which allows you to stand over them. So your personal breakthroughs, quitting alcohol, smoking, finding new purpose, you dropped all this stuff. You got in touch with your emotions. It's a really beautiful story that you're living. And I really hope that a lot of people will come to you to get them through similar things. Let's talk about, I'm going to shift gears because you brought up something in the pre-interview that was so exciting to me, which was talking about breathwork as a technology. There's this idea of the technologies of love and of healing and of just biology of being a human that I think are beginning to be reclaimed by people in this more conscious space when we're talking about light work and healing and all that. I'd like to hear your take on breathwork as an ancient technology for healing and transformation, kind of how you define that.
Yeah. And the word technology, I think, is interesting too, because in this day and age, when we think technology, at least for me, I think Wi-Fi, blockchain, AI, anything that's techie, right? Technology relates to tech. But anything that is an invention that was used to help create something that's systematized, that helps people move forward, like the wheel, like writing, those are all technologies. And breathwork, I think, is the first technology. It was the first one that people figured out how to change their physiology and also connect with source. Because when you breathe in a specific pattern for a prolonged period of time, your prefrontal cortex moves, and then you get access into your subconscious mind. You get access into your higher self, and that's where the ideas come from. And that's really what reality transurfing is about. They don't talk about this in the book, but it kind of alludes to the fact that you need to raise your energy and your frequency to the point where you can connect with source. And breathwork is the easiest way to do that because you have complete control over it. It's one of those things you breathe normally where you're not conscious of it. But once you become conscious of it, that actually is what connects you to your higher self, because you are the breath. And when you breathe, you become the breath and you become your higher self. But it's only through conscious breathing. And I think that's the main difference between most people in life are not conscious at all. And the easiest way to become conscious is to just focus on your breath. And that's why in meditation, they always say, focus on the breath. Because that brings you back into wholeness. It brings you back into connection with source.
Yeah. And it just curtails perfectly into the name of your initiative, which I'd love you to just kind of break down the psychology behind the name. And this technology piece is perfect for explaining that. Yeah. Tell us a little more about it.
I was really struggling to find a name for myself and for the practice. And I'm also a graphic designer. So creating a logo was really, and I hate everything that I do. I'm super critical of it. I'm a perfectionist.
Same, bro. Same.
And so this word Noomatics came from a breathwork session. I sat down to figure out what I was going to do. And I just do breath work, and then I just lay there in silence and wait for answers to come. And this name popped in my head. And pneumatics is a marrying of two words. Pneuma, the Greek word, it means breath or spirit. And so it's spelled phonetically, Nooma, pneuma. And then somatics, which is body awareness, which is what I do in breath work. When you start breathing, you start feeling in your body, where am I storing tension? What emotions live in this tension? If you feel it in your back, you feel it in your chest. Those are all emotions that are connecting to very specific things. And by breathing, you release them from your body and then start to, release the blockages so you can move through life normally. And so the idea of connecting your mind and your body back together is really what the practice is about. So it's a marrying of two things that are separate, especially in our culture. We live in our heads in America, or in the world, really. Everyone is operating from their head, and they've almost forgotten about their bodies. The body is really not needed because you just sit on a computer and you type things, and it's all through your head. You live in your head, you make your decisions from your head. But really, when you get back into the body and you listen to your intuition, that's where the true knowledge is. When you have your sacral yes or no, like as soon as someone asks you, do you want to do that? You know in your gut whether or not you want to, if your intuition's online. But if your intuition's blocked and you're disconnected from your body, usually because you've suppressed your emotions and it's not safe to feel them, then you have no intuition. But once you get in connection with your emotions again, your intuition comes online. When you suppress your emotions, you're easily controlled. When your emotions are online, you're no longer easily controlled because you know what you want. And you're no longer controlled by what you see. You're controlled by what you want to do. You create. You're a creator. And that's the huge shift that I'm seeing happen with people who do breath work, is they stop just doing things on autopilot and they start thinking for themselves for the first time.
Yeah. The previous guest I just had on, Samantha Kern's also a breath worker. We were talking about this very thing, which is this idea that you're much more difficult to control when you've reclaimed that sovereignty inside yourself, when you are in tune with this integrated self that has so many parts. It's like you become aware of these parts of yourself that have been repressed or silenced. And really, there's great grief there. You need to understand how diminished the experience of a full self has been. And I think you can understand that and begin to understand that when you get back in touch with this intuition, because those emotions are signposts, man. They're so important, and they're telling you something truer and deeper about your human experience that you have got to acknowledge. You have to affirm. Yeah, man. God, I love that so much. So these coping mechanisms that you see people deal with, I'm sure you, in your clients, you some of the ones that you used to partake in, alcohol, these different sort of addictive coping distractions, maybe even TV shows, things like that. Let's talk about how breath sort of begins to dismantle all of that and the kind of autonomy people could begin to feel in their lives again from connecting with themselves this way.
Yeah. What breathwork did for me was it showed me the why, right? So every time you have a cope, there's always a why. Your body's really smart and it does things in order to keep you safe. It's looking for homeostasis. So in my past, my nervous system would be inflamed because I had a narcissistic ex-wife and she would yell a lot and she would make me feel like there was a bear attacking me just by being in her presence. And so I knew that if I drank alcohol, my nervous system would calm down. I knew for a fact every single time it always works. There was never a time where it didn't work. But outside of that, I had no way of getting my nervous system to calm down. I didn't even know that it was a thing, first of all, but I just knew that I felt bad. And if I drank, I felt good. The dopamine would go up and everything would be smooth and I'd be happy again. So then I quickly learned, okay, avoid the things that make you feel bad and then drink alcohol. That's the recipe for getting by in life. And I did that for a long time. And then smoking weed was a different thing because there's part of it that's really good because it can help in so many ways. It can be used as a medicine. But then when you use it as I'm feeling emotions right now and I don't want to, I'm going to smoke some weed to just feel good. Or I'm in a situation right now that I really don't like and I'm unhappy about it. But as long as I'm high, I can accept that. And so weed's vibration is acceptance. Whenever you get stoned, it makes you just accept everything, which can be good, but usually it's bad because people are accepting a bunch of shit in their life that they should not be accepting.
Yeah, man.
And that anxiety is there for a reason. Like you said, it's a tool. It's a signpost saying there's something wrong that you need to fix. And when you smoke weed, you just don't need to fix it anymore. You just smoke the weed and you move on. And so those were my main copes, I would say, were accepting things that I didn't like and then getting my nervous system calm. And then I remember distinctly my current wife now, this was years and years ago when I was first getting my divorce, something bad happened. I can't remember exactly what it was, doesn't matter, but it was like 11 o'clock and I reached to a bottle and I was about to start drinking. And she's like, what are you doing? It's 11 o'clock. I'm like, I know, but I'm really angry right now. And this is how I deal with things. Like, what are you talking about? And she was the first person to ever question that as like a thing. Like, what are you doing? And so that finally, after years of, being with her, I finally was able to look at it for what it was and recognize the why behind it. And a lot of it was with smoking weed also wasn't just acceptance, but it is acceptance, but it was because I felt alone. I started smoking weed when I was like 12, and it's because I felt completely alone in the world. My dad was diagnosed with something terminal, and I thought he was going to die right away. So I didn't know how to express my emotions or share them with people. And I was completely alone with my emotions. And then also my parents were working all the time. I was a latchkey kid. I was just literally on my own. So when you smoke weed, you can accept that. You don't have to feel sad. You can just feel good and you can ignore it. So it's, again, going back to acceptance.
Yeah. Dude, there's a layer to this that I really want to jump into really deep because I think that I think that the universe is carving this out for us right now in real time. There's this link between breath work and emotions that you've pointed out so well. I also want to just give some space to the fact that you are one of the few men that I've been able to meet with from these podcasts. There's been so many women coming through in this healing space, because I think it's no accident that masculinity, manhood, and a more conscious experience of life is more rare in a demographic who is taught to disconnect from their emotions and is conditioned to isolate and to take it all on alone. It's something that you brought up, being this latchkey kid, being 12, dealing with all of this stuff on your own and learning your own coping mechanisms. I think it's really important that we dive into this a little bit. You talked about feeling and releasing emotions. You've talked about overthinking and how you dealt with that. But I think that you and I have a unique opportunity right now to speak to any men who are listening and to kind of bring out the importance of this, to kind of reframe emotions and getting in touch with emotions, emotional intelligence, and then that subconscious reprogramming, reclaiming power from like a much deeper psychological perspective. You want to offer anything on that before we go deeper into it?
Yeah, I would say that emotions are the number one thing that are being controlled on this planet, specifically with men. And at a young age, we're taught, you're too much. Stop experiencing whatever you're experiencing. In fact, take this drug and calm down because you're too much.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So all the little boys in school, they have big emotions. Little boys have so many emotions. They have so much energy moving through their body. I have 2 twin 8-year-old boys. And we took them out of school specifically because we had to drug them to keep them in school. And I wasn't cool with that. Neither was my wife. We're like, I don't like this. It's not helpful because it just numbed them out. And now they didn't have any emotions. Now they're just little zombies who are flatlined and they had no energy, and they'd get home from school and they'd be fucking toast, man. They'd just be laying there. And it broke my heart. And I was like, I want my boys to feel emotions. I want them to have the whole range, even if it's super inconvenient for me. And I have to deal with meltdowns and all this bullshit because I'm going to hold fucking space for that because no one ever held it for me.
There you go, man.
And that's what's so important, is holding space for the emotions to exist and be like, hey, man, I understand you're feeling that. I get it. Feel them. Go ahead, do it. And just let that energy move through their body and then be like, all right, now we're good, right? Let's move on. You did it. Yeah. And just be like, that's normal. And so in my house, the boys get to experience emotions. They're not suppressed.
Yeah.
They get to fully feel them and let it move through their body, which is what animals in the wild, when they almost get killed, they shake it off and they go back to the den. As adult males, we don't do that. We don't know how to shake it off. We just bury it deep in our bodies, and then it comes out later as cancer or some other sickness.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why breath work is so beautiful, because it literally forces the energy through you. It makes the emotions come out, whether you like it or not. It's like an enema. You do the enema and you shit yourself. It doesn't matter whether or not you want to, and you don't have to talk about it. It's a bottom-up approach, and that's what's beautiful about breath work. It's a bottom-up approach. It's not a top-down. Yeah. So you do the breath work, you feel the emotions, and then when you feel it, you heal it. And that's the beautiful thing. You have to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that came to mind right away when you were talking earlier about sort of shrinking this gap between the conscious mind and the subconscious, or I guess you could say unconscious. Some people say that, was Carl Jung and his work. And I'm reading Man and His Symbols right now. And one thing he talks about is the psychosis that results when there is a growing gap and dissociation between cognition and conscious thinking and experience and unconscious or subconscious experience. And those things are reinforced with prejudices, with fantasies, with what's the other word he used? Fetishes, these sort of like psychological terms. And I think that these addictions that you pointed out are exactly that kind of thing, these distractions. And I think what's even more dangerous is what you talked about, is that the biggest thing being controlled right now is emotion, right? We're being propagandized left and right. We're being manipulated. We're being given a standard of what life should look like and how we should measure up to that. And then we're having to somehow find identity, or try to find identity within all of that, which leads me to, you and I also talked about being cycle breakers and what that looks like in a conscious adult experience these days. There's a generation before us that looks at us like we have two heads when we talk this language. And I just want to get some perspective from you on what it's been like to be that kind of maverick in your family. I kind of am one in mine too. I want to hear how that's felt as a man and in concretizing your identity.
Yeah. Being a cycle breaker is interesting because people look at you weird when you say you don't want to drink alcohol because it's part of our culture. Mm-hmm. And so when you show up to the family event and they offer you a drink and you had drank before, now they feel weird because you make them look bad, even though you're not trying to. By you saying, no, I don't want to drink, now they have to like, well, why is he not drinking? Should I not be drinking? And it immediately makes them think about themselves because people are always thinking, how does this make me feel? It has nothing to do with you and your health and what you're trying to do with your family or whether or not you're a cycle breaker. It doesn't matter. You're breaking the mold and you're going outside of what's comfortable and normal, and they don't like that. And so what I've realized is it's just a projection that happens. And as a cycle breaker, you're breaking their projections and you're breaking their view of the world because their world looks like this. And now you're making them think about it. And my dad started this whole thing because he got sober. And then he found religion. He got really annoying with it, and I think that pissed off my family. He taught me the same thing, how to be really annoying and very pushy with religion and with beliefs and with health and fitness and everything that he knew he was right about. A lot of the shit that I thought he was completely, insane about. Now that he's gone, I look back as a teenager and all this stuff. I was like, man, you're crazy. He was right. It's just his approach was off. So as cycle breakers, we create disruption within the unit and within the family and in the system. And it's a little lonely when you start doing that because now you have to be separate and different and people don't like that. And so you have to just kind of start over sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the truth. And, it's kind of like, I think that there's been this bubbling up in human consciousness at large. I think that we're not alone in this. There's a lot of people who are just kind of like rubbing the sleep out of their eyes and going, well, wait a minute. Why am I living like this? Why does society look like this? Why was I taught this? And I think that that's part of the beauty of people like you and me connecting, man. I don't think it's an accident. I don't think that we, deserve too much credit. We're just kind of part of the flow, and we attracted this just by jumping into that water. So I'm just really glad. I'm just really glad to be talking with you. I think this is important work and an important topic we're talking about right now. So a huge part of this is going to be authenticity. You have to, to be this kind of a person, you have got to decide that you are going to keep returning to self and you are going to keep being authentic and true to self, that you're not going to break that trust with self. Your rapid growth on social media, man, I think that is such a testament to that. I think that's showing through. I mean, good grief. Last time we talked, you had 9,000 followers. So now it's 20,000 now. Is that right?
Almost. I'll probably hit 20,000 by the end of today. But it's funny how it works. Like you take moments where nothing happens, and then one video, like this last video I put out, has done 7,000 followers, and it's bizarre. Jeez. Like I don't really understand why. Yeah. And that's the fun about it. It's like every time you put out a video, it's like you're playing the lottery, so to speak.
It's so true.
When I created the video the other day, I didn't really feel like making content, and I just kind of put something out really quickly with no thought. And I think that's the important piece of this. Don't think. The moment you start thinking that you know what's right, your wrong brain is involved. But when you just speak and you just let it rip and you're authentic, then you connect with people because people can feel that. But when I read off a script from a teleprompter, people can feel that too. Whether they consciously are aware of it, subconsciously, they know that they're listening to ChatGPT and they tune out. People don't want to listen to ChatGPT shit. They can go read it for themselves. What they want is authenticity because ChatGPT can't give that. It's not authentic.
That's the truth.
It's a programmed little bot that spits out information. And when I scroll through and I see people, I can tell whether they're authentic right away. And that's why I connected with you, because I saw authenticity immediately from the first moment you started speaking. For whatever reason, I didn't even know what you were saying. It was more how you were saying and the energy that you were giving and the frequency that you were giving off that connected me with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, dude. That honors me big time. I want to hear, man, do you have like a vision for this community of followers? Are you working through like how you can bring all of this together into like mobilized action in the world? Is it more on a one-on-one basis, or how are you kind of bringing that about?
Yeah. Well, I started a community like 4 years ago, and it stayed small on purpose because I was trying to build what I'm doing in my life within a small group. And it worked to a certain degree, but I realized that the people who found me at a time when my frequency was very different, and I kind of outgrew them. And so it was like a booster community, like a booster rocket. The boosters fall off at some point once you reach a certain point. So now I need to start over a new community with people who resonate with who I am now.
Yeah.
And I do want to create something like a school or something where people can connect and be part of something and just find a safe space specifically for men to express emotions. And that's really what my group online, it was a Discord of like maybe 10 guys. And it was a place where if they were going through something, they could go write about it and not feel shame. Because that was everything for me, was write about whatever you want. I don't want to hear victim puke per se, where people are just whining and complaining. But like, here's what I'm experiencing, and then also looking for solutions to those problems and not just repeating the same patterns over and over and be like, oh, this is happening to me. I'm like, well, it's because you keep doing the exact same thing. What are you doing differently to change, right? And that's what I want to see in my community, is people who are taking a look at themselves and then willing to actually do the work. It's not just a passive community, but people who are taking responsibility for their current life because they've created it, and then saying, what am I going to do differently to create the life that I want? And then giving them the keys and the access and all the things that I've learned to help them get to where I'm going. Because that's really what it comes down to. Like in jiu-jitsu, everything that I learned, I want to teach other people so that they can come with me, because a rising tide raises all ships. And it really does work that way. So when I learn, I get benefited. But when I teach, I get double the benefit. When I give the gifts that I've been given, I get so much more pleasure than taking something or learning something from someone else. I want to just keep giving, because the more you give, the more you receive. It's just, that's how it works.
That is how it works. Yeah. I mean, I loved what you said about the booster rockets, because social media, man, it's just a mirror. It's like, it's going to mirror back the energy that you're putting in. It's a way for you to really see how you really have to formulate and really hone your message, because it begins to do work on you. It begins to show you who you really are and what it is you're really trying to accomplish and who it is you're really trying to be. But it is so encouraging to see these people really resonating with this positivity, with this authenticity. And I hope that your online community just grows from that, because that's you have a lot to offer. And in terms of like, man, you brought up that it's just hitting it again, that internal sovereignty. Like, you are passing on internal sovereignty, and that's how like the revolution takes root, is just right here at home. It's a homegrown cultivation that then begins to spread outward. So let's talk about then like the manifestation of your vision, the growth that you're experiencing, where you see this thing going, the influence of this reality transurfing and other teachings. I think that this is something that we really need to inject into the public mindset. Like that, I told you about that last video I made on TikTok. All it was doing was just manifesting and talking about what the future could look like. And I think that when people see you on your journey and see you kind of manifesting this forward and see you learning and then disseminating, I think that creates more manifestation in their life. So tell us how you kind of see this working in. And I also want to hear about your wife's success too. You brought her up a little bit, and the intersection of how the two of you are working together. I'm just curious. I want to hear more about how that's working right now.
Yeah. Well, let me talk about the wife first. My wife is amazing. She's a ex-D1 athlete. She played basketball in college. Her father owned pro teams. So she was just in sports from jump, always playing sports. And her dad wanted a boy, ended up with a girl. So instead of Steven Jr., they got Stephanie. And so my wife has this work ethic and determination and this self-belief, because she always was told, you're the best. You're going to be the best because you put in the work. You're the best. So that's her mindset about everything. And so her nervous system allows success in a way that I've rarely seen in other people, because she has this crazy belief in herself. So we'll play pickleball, we'll play cornhole, whatever it is. If she's down, that makes her more dangerous, because then she starts saying, I'm the best. Like, I can beat anyone. Like, it's all a mind game, and I'm strong mentally. And then she'll whoop my ass. She'll come out of nowhere and beat me because I'll mentally cave, because she'll start getting, an edge on me, and I'll break before she will. She's a diamond under pressure. Yeah. And so when her back got pushed up against the wall with losing her corporate job where she was getting paid really good money, she started to panic a little bit. And then she realized, oh yeah, I'm Steph and I can do anything that I want. And so I encouraged her. I was like, let's just do it. Like, go all in. Let's not worry about it. And so, we went to a situation where it could have been like really bad, like no income in a house where we have a crazy overhead that could turn bad quick.
Oh yeah.
That could destroy most people. And so you have a choice. And this is where reality transurfing really helped, is you can take these emotions that you have right now and you pivot. You either go into fear or you go into love. Those are your only two frequencies you can choose. And then from there, they stem and break off into everything else. And we chose love instead of fear. We said, this is a fucking golden ticket. We're getting a severance check, and this is going to help us launch the business. And we got insight into knowing that the business is going, tits up. We're going to be able to launch this new thing and have like 3 months, 4 months to get going. This is great news. And so we just pivoted hard and got after it. And so we started with small sites, and I had the craziest imposter syndrome. Like, babe, we can't just like be a digital marketing company. We've never done this before. We have no clients. We have no one to point to us and say that they're legit. And luckily, she's friends with someone who does own a massive agency, who does do millions and millions in revenue, who was able to start sending us business. And we were able to kind of like copy their business model a little bit and learn from them. And he started mentoring her. And then we did start getting clients, and then it started snowballing. And now we're starting to like really get some traction. And so in 2 years, she scaled the business to $1 million. Which is nuts.
Yeah, that is nuts.
It's nuts. And so now she's trying to sell the business. That's what she cares about the most. Like, she doesn't want to do this forever. She wants to sell the business in the next 3 years. And so through my breathwork journey, it brought me to meet more people in the breathwork community. And one of the guys, his whole life goal is to create 1,000 millionaires. And he's up to about 300 so far. And he's got fuck you money. Like, this dude,
crazy.
This dude's so successful. He's amazing and so kind and generous. And we met him because of this breathwork thing. And he invited us to his house, and we got to spend time with his family. And again, you go down a path. Like, I didn't know what I was doing when I wanted to get certified, but it wasn't even about the certification. It was about the people I met. I got a great community. I got connections to all these people who are going to help me on my journey, and more specifically, help my wife on her journey and what she's doing in her business. So now she just keeps meeting new people, and it comes organically. She's not looking for anything in particular, but she's kind of just putting out general ideas of what she wants to manifest.
Yeah.
And another really cool author that helped us is Project 369. Dave, I don't know how to say his last name, Dave Kesnecki, but he coached us. And when we were in Utah for this breathwork thing, he sent out an email saying, I'm looking for coaching people. It's a very small group, and if you're interested, you can fill out the application. And she got accepted. And, he's a best-selling author. He has thousands of applicants. And so she's like, this seems like a really good idea. I think I'm going to go down this path. And he has been able to scale his business. He does digital marketing. He knows how to help her scale her business. And so she did 3 months of coaching with him, and that really helped her scale the business in a significant way.
Yeah.
And so we just keep on following the breadcrumbs. And I think that's the most important thing here, is you can't think about how is this going to work. You just have to know it's going to work and then take a step forward. And each step you take forward, a new thing materializes. And that's how it works in video games too, right? You in GTA or any open world thing, you start moving and it starts coming in. Like, everything starts showing up. But you don't know what's out there until you get there, and then it starts to materialize in front of you. Yeah. And the universe works that way. It doesn't tell you how. It just, you go. You just go do it, and you follow the breadcrumbs. And it's like the same thing with hiking. You don't look up the trail, because then it's daunting, right? You see the mountain in front of you, and it's huge, and it's steep, and it's scary. You just look at your feet, and you look at the next stone, and then it's digestible. You can take a bite. You can take another bite. And then before you know it, you look down. You're like, damn, I just scaled 1,000 feet. But if you look up the whole time, you panic, and your nervous system freaks out because you're looking at that thing and saying, how can I do that? That's impossible.
Yeah.
You can't look up. You only look down. Take a step.
Yeah, dude, that's it, man. Yeah. I
part of this initiative is to try to help people who are in your line of work, and you don't need my help. You're doing great, but mysticism and abundance, the whole brand is built on the idea of trying to help people who don't possess your background skill set to get to this place where they are manifesting this kind of abundance in their lives. So there's a lot of crossover here. We'll have to talk about more later, but we'll do that off air.
Well, I'm not one to say that you can't help me. I'm just because I'm finding success in one area doesn't mean that I'm above help. I will take help wherever I can get it.
Oh man, same.
I'm a white belt over and over again. I might have a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but as soon as I got it, my mentality is you're starting over. And you need to learn all the holes in your game that you didn't learn coming up as a black belt. And so I always see myself as a learner and as a white belt. I never perceive myself as someone who's arrived and knows everything. Yeah,
bro. That's so important. Yeah, that's so cool. All right. And hey, man, just a last question for you before we wrap up. The future looks bright. You just talked about, my son and I talk about this. He's big on simulation theory. And so we talk about like the game rendering, like when you're looking out at the horizon. Rendering. Well, you got it. I mean, that's exactly what you were saying. It's the game renders as you move forward. And some people are bothered by that imagery, but I think, man, a game means there's a designer. A game means there's a goal. A game means that there was intent on the design of the characters and on the plot. And it's such a massive, huge, complicated, beautiful game. I think it's a really positive way to see things if you can reframe it that way. Yeah. What have you seen ahead of you and the path that you're charting, even though it feels invisible sometimes, right? I've heard that said, you'll know you're on the right path when it disappears. How is it feeling right now? And where do you think this is headed? You've talked about community. You've talked about the one-to-one, the jiu-jitsu, all of this stuff. What else can you see on the horizon? How can we help manifest this together with you?
That's the fun thing is I don't know. That's the interesting thing I should say about manifestation is that you can never set a when you try and manifest. You have to just say what you want to do. So I don't know when any of this stuff is going to happen. And that makes my wife antsy. She's always about like, let's go right now. Yeah. And I want to make this something larger, and I want to make it where it's inclusive and in person, because right now it's internet. And I love the internet because it allows people like, us to connect right now. But also I want to do events in person. Like I want to bring people together because breathwork is so much more powerful when everyone's energetic signature is combined in a space. It's very powerful. And I didn't realize that until I went to the breathwork certification. We were in like this dome building with glass windows in Utah, and it's just mountains all around you. It's beautiful. And we're doing breathwork, and there's like 12 people breathing, and these wild turkeys, the male turkey came over to the window and started freaking out because of us doing breath work. And it wasn't any noise either because we had headphones on. So it was like the silent disco headphones. Yeah. And this turkey just came over and was like banging on the glass because of the energy that we were creating. They could feel it. And I felt different than I've ever felt doing a breathwork session online, which is powerful. But once I got in a group, totally different. Totally different. It's not even the same. It's not even close. And the guy who taught me, his name's Curtis Lee Thomas. He's the founder of Breathwork Detox, and that's the background that I'm from. Yeah. I met him because he came to my hometown and did an in-person breathwork session in a yoga studio, and he packed the place out. Like everyone was smashed in like sardines, and the energy in that building was crazy. And so I see what he's doing, and he's working with NASA. He's working with Nike. He's like on, Men's Health Fitness magazine covers. He's going that route, which I think is great. The whole corporate angle, which I could see myself doing that. Yeah. Also in jiu-jitsu, no one knows how to breathe. No one does breath work. It's crazy to me. I go to so many different schools locally, and everyone just looks at me like I'm nuts. And they see like yoga is okay, but then breath work is not for some reason. Like no one has connected the dots, but I want to connect the dots and be like, listen, if you're doing jiu-jitsu and you're not doing breath work, you are missing the boat because it's all about breathing. That's what makes me good is I learned how to breathe and I learned how to relax and not see it as a fight. I see it as a game that I'm playing with other people. It's 3D chess using a body, and I'm not in panic mode. When I first started, I was just freaking out the whole time. And so I want to connect the jiu-jitsu community to breath work. That's kind of my mission, or was my mission. But also more importantly, I would say my heart goes out to young men, especially guys who are coming up now, like Gen Zers and the kids, like my kids' age, like they are a disaster. They are such a mess. And so my wife and I, when we first got married, our heart was really to the AZ, group, Generation A and Generation Z. And they're so traumatized. And
oh, dude, yeah.
I've done my job to create that trauma, right? Because I came from trauma, so I've already passed it on. So I'm breaking the cycle, but now my kids have a chance to break the cycle as well, because they have to. The stuff that I had ancestrally, sadly, I passed on to them. So they have it in their blood, they have it in their DNA, and even though they might not have expressed it yet, it's there. You can see it. So like the video game culture, I grew up in the video game culture, and I see what it's doing to my son. And then the social media culture, I see what it's doing to my daughters. And I see, even though the 12-year-old's not on there yet, at some point she'll get there. And I just see the way they view themselves, and their self-image is so tarnished. And I want to help the younger generation start to see that they can break free from the matrix, and they can do it sooner than later. And then they can run the world. Because if you figure this shit out young, like you have everything. It took me until like my mid 30s to figure out this stuff.
Yeah.
But if you can figure it out when you're 18, now you're a god.
Oh man, yeah, you're unstoppable, and it's the tools that are at their disposal. Now they could take care, they can take advantage of both technologies, right? They can take care of the like more generic meaning of tech that we think of, but also this incredible three-dimensional biological technology. Yeah, that's an exciting future, man.
My kids still think I'm insane. They don't, that's what happens. Your kids,
same.
They think you're really cool, and then they hit 12, and then you're insane. And that goes on until 20, maybe 30. It depends on where they land and what they get into. But I don't push anything on them, because I know that my dad tried to force everything on me, and I resisted him, and it broke our relationship because of that. So I just hold space. I'm like, whenever you're ready, I am here, and I love you. But I'm not going to push anything on you that you're not ready for, because your nervous system won't accept it anyway. It's all about nervous system. And once I understood that, I stopped being forceful, because it's just a program is running, and that program is in place to keep them safe. And it's just like in the Matrix. If you try and break people free who aren't ready, you break the person. So you have to wait until they're ready. And when they're ready, you'll know. They'll know.
Yeah. I think it was Aldous Huxley that said you have to start with dualism to learn non-dualism. So it's, that's part of the process. I've heard so many quotes like that. Richard Rohr is this modern Christian mystic that says you have to start with fundamental religion to be able to use that as a springboard to the mystical and the universal. It's like we need some sort of anchoring first for our brain in this 3D reality that feels so distinct and makes us feel so separate from other things before we can start to see, like you just said, through the matrix and see our connection to things. And I think there's a lot of hope in that, man, for this younger generation.
Totally. And that's, again, the reason why I like breathwork so much is because it gives you access into the oneness that, you find in plant medicines and things like that, which are not always accessible. Like I've done DMT, and when you do DMT, you connect with God, you are God, like you feel it. And it's an energy that you walk away from. You're like, whoa, there's no way that we are separate. Like we are one.
Yeah.
And breathwork gives you almost the same exact feeling if you do it right. It's almost identical. And that's another passion I have. Me and my friend Tim, he sold his business for a lot of money, and so he's retired now, and he wants to help people understand that after you go do plant medicine, you have to fall back on something else, and breathwork is that thing. That's the thing that you use to integrate the experience. So you can go do ayahuasca all you want, but if you never integrate that into your life and you just keep running back to the jungle and doing more ayahuasca, you're doing nothing except for chasing a feeling and chasing a high. You're a hedonist still. But breathwork allows you to stop being a hedonist, and it allows you to ground the experience into your body. And then it's a normal practice you can keep going back to. You can't just take mushrooms every day. It's not healthy.
I think that might be, I think you're bridging a gap too between what a lot of people miss in meditative practice, because they feel like they're doing something that's a little bit shapeless, I think that the breath work, like you just said, grounding it into the body and really taking control over conscious experience is going to be a really important tool for people. The Ram Dass retreats that people talked about, where there wasn't a single drug involved and these people just felt higher than they'd ever been in their lives. it's from that energy, that consciousness, and that grounding in the body that you're talking about. Man, what an exciting thing that you're involved with. I want people to get involved more with it. And we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, dude. Let's talk about how people can get connected with your work. Where can they find you? Give us all of that right now. Lay it all out for us.
Yeah, Noomatics.com is my website, and that's got all the links to socials. On socials, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram. Instagram, I'm not really focused on right now. It's Noomatics Breathwork _ someone stole it. So it's Noomatics _ Breathwork. I don't really care about Instagram. But TikTok is Noomatics.
Awesome. All right, we're going to get him connected. It'll all be in the show notes. Mitch, you're the man. Thank you for joining me, dude. We're going to manifest this future together. You're doing great work, brother.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, same.